Rev up your engines!
Well, Reva says, Scotty, how come you have so many viewers? I hope that it's because they want to hear the truth. A lot of people these days don't want to hear the truth. They want to live in a fantasy world where whatever they believe is true, or they listen to somebody either left or right who blah, 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 blah. None of them know what the heck they're talking about. I've been working on cars for 53 years, and I like helping people out. My grandfather was the same way. He was a mechanic, but he could only help out the locals in Lewiston, New York, where the Texaco gas station was. So a few hundred people at max, he could help. I could help out millions of people, maybe billions of people. I got over 1.7 billion views, so people like being told the truth if they want to buy a machine that doesn't break down, or they're trying to fix it themselves, or they want a tool, but they don't want to waste too much money. And I'll say, you know, this $30 tool is fine. You don't really need the $180 tool. That's probably why. Some people actually appreciate the truth. Adam Ducker says, Scotty, what makes a 2018 RAV4 or any of the fourth generation RAV4 so reliable? Well, Toyota generally makes reliable vehicles. Now, in the past, you go back 15, 20 years, they made quite a few mistakes on the RAV4s. They had a problem with the 4 oxygen sensor system. They had a problem with automatic transmissions in them. They did have more problems than a normal Toyota will. But one kudos I have to give Toyota is they learn from their mistakes. Look, everybody makes mistakes. The other day I made a mistake, and guess what? I learned from that mistake. I learned I will never make that mistake again. Got the right tool to do it. And believe me, I'll never make that mistake again. Now, if you go through your life, everything's perfect and nothing ever goes wrong, you're not going to remember anything. Because, oh, that was easy. You just keep going, do whatever you want. But when you make a mistake and then you find it out and you have to fix it, I remember cars I made mistakes on when I was 16 years old still. I don't remember all the ones I fixed, but I sure as heck remember the ones that my grandfather got mad and yelled at me because I screwed up on a job. And then I learned, okay, here's how you do it right. That's how you learn. You got to learn from mistakes. Toyota seems to learn from their mistakes, and gradually they make things better. So, you know, like they're screwing up now with the wastegates on their V6 Tundras that they just started making for the first time. I'm sure they'll fix that problem. They'll figure it out because that's what that company does. Angel Rodriguez says, what's your opinion on a 2022 Lexus 500? Well, if you've got that kind of money to spend, they are excellent cars. I would never spend that kind of money on a car. I think it's foolhardy. If I wanted to buy one of those, I'd wait till it was 8 or 10 years old because they can last a really long time. Just like with my wife's Lexus. Her car, brand new, was $39,500, and I paid $3,000 for it when it had 60,000 miles on it because a customer's father died of a heart attack, and they didn't want the car. They had a Mercedes, and they had another Lexus, and they didn't have any kids, so I got it for $3,000. You're never going to get a deal on a new Lexus, but used, you get a better deal. Don't mind the money, and you're loaded. They're excellent vehicles. They are. They're fun to drive around, but as far as I'm concerned, all cars at that level are way overpriced. I would never pay that kind of money for a car. Daniel Fee says, what causes a GMC Denali steps to try to go up? It clicks and it doesn't go back up. Steps for getting in. When you open the door, they come out, and then you climb in. Well, generally on those, it's the motor gear assembly breaking out. You know, GMC makes everything as cheap as they possibly can, GM. So they got plastic gears in them, and guess what? Your plastic gears are probably breaking down. You can't buy the gears, you gotta buy the whole motor assembly, you know, yada, yada, yada. They don't make these things to fix them. But odds are that's what it is that the plastic gears are starting to break and they'll click and they won't work right. If you're gonna make something like that, please, people, can't you use metal gears, you know? Oh, it's so much cheaper to make plastic gears. You don't have to machine them. They're just plastic, injection molded. And are they going to break? Of course they're going to break. Decades ago, my wife got a pasta making machine. It was great. We made pasta 4 or 5 times, and then click, and it didn't work. I took it apart. I'm like, what the heck? All the gears were plastic, and they were all sheared off. Then later we got one that was all metal, and it didn't break at all. So, of course, you're buying something. You don't know what's in it until you buy it, and that's too late. William Posey says, 2008, ES350 Lexus. I need rear shocks. What kind should I get? Well, I find that for the money, the KYB, the Japanese company KYB that makes shocks and struts, sell pretty good ones. Get a replacement one and take them apart, rebuild them, use the springs over and put them in. If money is no object, go to Lexus and buy the factory ones, but they're really not all that much better, and they're going to cost you 3 to 5 times probably what the KYB ones cost. I mean, if you want to try top end, see if you can get some good Bilsteins. Bilstein makes great ones. You're going to pay a lot more for them, but look into the handling of each particular one. Do a little research and see what do you want. Do you want comfy ride or you want better cornering? And then pick out the high quality ones and look at the KYBs and the Bilsteins if you don't want to go factory and go from there. Edgar says, Scotty, the crankshaft is hitting the crankshaft sensor. Is it bad timing? Belt bolt 2010 Fusion. I can just about guarantee you the harmonic balancer itself, because I fixed a ton of them that way. Those are those stupid harmonic balancers, and they're two-piece. They're metal, rubber, and then metal. Oh, they make less noise with rubber insulation, right? I don't hear my Toyotas making any noise. And they got solid metal harmonic balancers. The harmonic balancer is the part in the front that your fan belts run off of, if you don't know. It's a stupid thing, and all the times I fix those, you take it all apart, put a new one, that usually would fix it. Odds are the crank or anything isn't going on. It's almost always that stupid main harmonic balancer coming apart because it's a two-piece assembly that's put together. You can't fix them. You got to buy another one. Vita says, Scotty, are 5-cylinder diesel Volvo engines reliable? Yes, they are. They have very reliable diesel engines. Now, they were never that popular in the United States. Unlike Toyota, Volvo did sell diesel engines in the United States in mass. Toyota put it in a little pickup, and of all things, they put it in a Camry decades and decades ago, and they were piles of crap. And that was the end of that. They gave up with diesels in the United States. But Volvo's been doing diesel stuff for a long time. And if they're taken care of, those engines can go a really long time. The coolest says, my 07 ES, the sunroof weather stripping's cracking, popping up. Easy to repair. Well, if you're just talking about the weather stripping that goes around the top, yes. If you're talking about the weather stripping that's around the actual whole assembly and where the roof comes in and out, that is a royal pain in the butt. But realize one thing about sunroofs. There isn't a sunroof out there that seals perfectly. They're not meant to. When you open your sunroof the whole way, if you get up, I have a video on it, you can watch it. Get up, climb on the chair, put your socks on, look in the front, you'll see 2 tiny holes. Those are the drain holes for the front. And if you look in the back, you'll see 2 more tiny holes. Any water that gets in there, because none of them seal perfectly, goes through those drain holes. Because the actual seal on the roof, they all leak somewhat. They're not perfect. As long as those drain holes are clear and don't have leaves and grunge, the little water that gets in will drain, and then it drains out under the car so it doesn't get inside the car and make a mess and rust everything out and ruin the electronics. MTL says, Scotty, did Honda fix the 1.5 oil dilution? As far as I can find so far, yes, they have. But part of it has to do with the oil. I had a customer bring me a 1.5 Honda in Rhode Island when I was there last time. And he showed me his oil dilution report. He had his oil tested before he changed the oil when he was using normal oil. Then he used that GF6B oil that's W16 made especially for those engines so they don't get oil dilution. He had a certain percentage of oil dilution after he switched and then changed that oil and he used the 0W16 GF6B oil. It said for oil dilution, it said small trace. It wasn't even, it was less than 1%. Small trace. So that stuff helps it too. They have better oils than they did then. And I don't see any more problems with them in Hondas. Reality says, Scotty, greetings from Australia. I have a 53 Vanguard Standard similar to a Morris. It's been sitting in storage since 1970. Engine was running, but now it won't even turn over. Okay. If you were sitting for 52 years, would you turn over? What you want to do, take all the spark plugs out. All of them. Get a bottle of Marvel Mystery Oil. It's an excellent penetrating oil. Fill each cylinder up with the oil. Let it sit for a week. Let it soak in. Get yourself a big old long extension bar, maybe a 4-foot piece of pipe too. Stick a socket on the end of it and try to move the engine back and forth. Back and forth. You might be able to break it loose. What happens is your piston rings are going to rust right into the cylinder wall. That's the problem. And the Marvel Mystery Oil is pretty good stuff. And with you pulling back and forth, you might get it going. Give it a try. Tell me if it works. I like to help people out and see if it works. Now, if it doesn't, you're going to tear the engine apart, take it all apart, rebuild it. But you said it was running when it was stopped there. But then again, 52 years is 52 years. A lot of rust can happen in 52 years. Michael Mooney says, Scotty, what's the best way to restore plastic rubber trim around the car windows? All right. There's a company out there. It's called Lithium, just like the element lithium. The drug lithium they give to people that are schizophrenic. An excellent company. It's called Lithium. And they make many different products from many different things. But one of their best ones is one that you put on a trim, let it soak in the shade for a few hours, buff it off, do that 4 or 5 times. And that stuff is amazing. It can get the polish back on old worn out rubber. It's not cheap. Most of their bottles are like $30 and up, but it actually works. I believe they got chemicals that use a lot of silicone mixtures in them because silicone's really good at rejuvenating and keeping rubber from rotting. But whatever, the stuff works. It's called lithium. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.